I went to AEW Dynasty this past weekend, and it was a really good show. I've been to not too many wrestling events in the past. My only experience is the 2022 Royal Rumble, which was, while a good show to see in person, Royal Rumbles, you get to do the countdown. It was in St. Louis, so we got to, cheer on like Randy Orton, the hometown guy. And then aside from that, I went to All Out in Chicago last year. But I think it's pretty easy to say out of the three, Dynasty was the best. Obviously there's the Ospreay Danielson match. That was the reason that I ended up going in the first place, me and my partner and another friend of ours. And it was just great. Our seats were really good. The venue, I think what I've noticed just in my experience going to AEW shows versus the one WWE show I went to, I like the smaller venues. I like when there's, not as many people and it's not as loud. And, well, that's not to say it wasn't loud, because the crowd, the energy in that arena, I thought that the energy in Chicago for All Out was like a really good crowd, and I thought that was a really good wrestling show. But then, yeah, Dynasty just blew it out of the water. All in all, wrestling is just in a really good place right now. I mean, WrestleMania 40 felt like, I feel like WrestleMania 40 made wrestling feel real again. Like, I feel like that event really captured that WWE childhood nostalgia, with the whole Cody story and, the conclusion to the Roman Reigns bloodline angle. Yeah, that show was really good. And then, on the AEW side of things, just like the signings of Osprey, Okada, just Mercedes, we are spoiled for talent and content. I know there's a lot of tribalism in the wrestling community, like, oh, you got to pick one or the other. You got to be AEW or you got to be WWE, like recreating the Monday Night Wars. But I don't know. I just have enjoyed sitting back and, watching the product when I'm able to, and just kind of enjoying the different approaches that each company has. And AEW, I really like what they're doing lately with a lot of the talent. I can get a little frustrated with Tony Khan's booking sometimes, for sure, but, Dynasty, a lot of good things happening. I was really excited to see Ospreay and Okada in person. I hadn't seen Swerve wrestle. Just a lot of superstars that I haven't gotten to see wrestle. But a cool thing with Dynasty was that I did get to see some people I had seen wrestle before, like Orange Cassidy. At All Out, he was in the main event against Jon Moxley, and that match was a banger. And then, Trent Beretta opened the pre-show against Matt Sydal. I did not know Matt Sydal was from St. Louis, but got a good reaction from the crowd, even as people were still filing in. And then just Orange Cassidy, his theme hitting, the little encounter with Trent. I'm so happy that they turned Trent heel, and they're hopefully going to do something with him as a single star. But yeah, with someone like Orange Cassidy, who main evented the last show I was at, I saw him come to the ring, and it's like, oh, that's my guy, Like, I don't know, I felt like a level of extra, like, personal attachment to the wrestler. Some of the repeat talent. I think Jay White as well. I got to see I believe it was the Bang Bang Gang against the Bucks and FTR at All Out. But this time I got to see, the Bang Bang Gang win the trios titles. I'm going to be putting on screen the pictures and video. I mean, I'll already have been doing it. But, various pictures and video that I took of the event. It's in vertical. I was just there to enjoy the show. I didn't really think about making it for a video. I might post like a couple YouTube short clips of like I got the finish to the Swerve match. I like to enjoy the wrestling. I don't want to be that person who's constantly on their phone, and but I also like to have things to document my experience and just some sort of time capsule for it. And that's also kind of why I wanted to make this video. I know this isn't typically the kind of thing I do on this channel at this point anymore. I know I used to kind of give reactions and thoughts to like, I'd done some videos on past Wrestle Kingdoms, but this one I was there in person, and I don't know, just thought it would be fun to talk about it. Not a lot to say about the pre-show matches. The Matt Sydal and Trent match was just, good. We had Sydal, the hometown guy, so there was just kind of some good energy to sort of warm up the crowd a little bit, I guess. The tag match with Shibata and Orange Cassidy versus Shane Taylor Promotions. Orange and Shibata work really well together as a tag team. Orange's shtick of like, sometimes he tries, and then of course Shibata, who is the no-nonsense, like, heavy hitter. So I really like their dynamic of just like Shibata would throw a heavy strike and then Orange is just kind of like, they had really good chemistry. I had seen Shane Taylor at All Out as well, I believe, against Samoa Joe. But I felt like this match with him and Lee Moriarty, I just felt like a stronger, I was more impressed with this tag team match. Maybe it was the way the match was laid out, just the physicality of it. That match was really good. The whole thing with the Acclaimed, I kind of had the feeling going into it that the Acclaimed were going to lose the trios titles. It was kind of what I was hoping would happen. And like, I was excited to see Jay White get the pin and those trios titles, move on to someone else. But I don't know, the whole storyline with the Bang Bang Gang, it felt a little, just the way that Tony Khan sometimes likes to do these stories of like, we take the two rivals, like the better than you baby kind of approach, where you take two guys who hate each other. In this case, it's two teams with the Bang Bang Gang and the Acclaimed. And like, they were kind of allies for a bit. They definitely had some fun energy, but it's just not what I was looking to see out of Jay White. Especially like, I love what he's doing lately, carrying around like the golden bat after taking out Darby. And yeah, it was a fine match. Max Caster's whole rap at the beginning of it, I don't know what was really going on with him. Some of the stuff he said in that rap, like in particular the line, I think it was directed at Jay White, that was basically talking about like, like it felt like something that he probably shouldn't have said. I know that Max Caster can be a little edgy with his raps, and he likes to poke at I don't know, certain political figures or just current events, things that are happening. But that one in particular, talking about like assaulting a man, I don't know, felt a little over the line. He also spiked the trios title during the entrance. Anthony Bowens is cool. He's got a lot of energy. I think just this trios run with them and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn, I think, they'd had a decent run. I think it was about time to move on from it. I don't know if they're gonna split the Acclaimed. It kind of felt like that's what they were teasing. I don't know for sure if he's been like suspended or reprimanded for the comments or anything. I know I had heard that like Dave Meltzer said like, oh, he might get in trouble for that one. But then that takes us to the main card, which opened up with Okada and Pac. This card was just crazy. I feel like there were 4 or 5 matches that could have been like a contender for main event, and Okada Pac was definitely one of them. Yeah, it just felt like a lot aligned on this trip that, Okada was going to be there, Ospreay was going to be there. A lot of, like, I never would have thought that I'd see Okada wrestle in person, because I just don't get out to many wrestling shows. It's been interesting seeing him work on TV and not really getting, not getting a full Okada, classic Okada match, like on TV, definitely working a kind of match that's a little more sustainable, probably in terms of taking bumps and, just having a bit more choreographed spots. Like, okay, we're going to hit this one, we're going to hit this one, kind of like Ospreay doing his barricade dive, which he did not do in the match at Dynasty. And I think that's smart, have kind of a more standard TV match, maybe occasionally bust out some atypical stuff, but then really save the best stuff for the pay-per-views. And Okada Pac was really good. It turns out that when you take 2 really talented, really athletic pro wrestlers and you put them in the ring together, magic happens, and the DDT on the floor looked nasty, even from like a distance. I'm sure it looked even worse on the broadcast, which I'll be curious to look back on at some point if I ever get the opportunity. I've always loved Okada's drop kick out of like any other wrestler. Just really cool to see, the former ace of New Japan, or the guy who was like put in position to be the ace. I know that Tanahashi's always called the ace, but like Okada was the top guy. He was their superstar. And he just seems to be having a lot of fun in AEW. I'm glad they brought him in as a heel and paired him with the Elite, because like their segments together are very fun. Like, I like a bit of comedy in wrestling. It kind of feels like the backstage skits with the Bucks and Okada. It has like being the Elite energy. Just in general, the new Elite that they're kind of working with. It's exciting stuff, and Okada was great. I would say that the match with Pac was probably my second favorite match of the night. It was a really strong opener. Pac was great as well. There were chants at the end of the match. He kind of got the standing ovation. He's our bastard. God, they're both so good, and that felt like a dream match in a way, but it wasn't even the biggest dream match of the night. Maybe Pac and Okada have wrestled before. I don't know. I've seen Pac's work more so in like NXT as Adrian Neville, and I've seen Okada's, some of his big matches in Japan, but I don't know if they ever faced off. I'm not the most well-versed in terms of like wrestling history outside of WWE, but yeah, just a lot of talent on display. The trios match that happened after that was also, I didn't have really many expectations for that match, but it was really fun. We got the triple spear spot with Eddie Briscoe and Adam Copeland. I had seen Edge wrestle at the Royal Rumble technically, because there was the It couple versus the Grit couple, but I don't know, that didn't really feel like peak Edge. So just like getting to see him at Dynasty and getting to hear Metalingus play is just really good energy. And Malachi getting the win over the win and the pin over the TNT champion, so that should probably set them up for a program at Double or Nothing. At least that's what I'm hoping happens, because that sounds like it would be a banger. Speaking of the House of Black, Julia Hart's entrance is just something to behold. It looks great on TV, but like getting to see in person, in the House of Black entrance as well, just the way that like the lights will go out and it's like, oh, they disappeared, but then they're in the ring. Julia Hart's theme goes so hard. And, the match with Willow, for what it like needed to be, it definitely went pretty quick. I was going into it like expecting Willow to win the title, because I had heard that Julia was working with some kind of injury, but like it went so quickly that I wasn't even like prepared to capture the finish of it. And I feel like, they did what they could, I imagine, trying to work around Julia. Willow winning the title is huge. I kind of suspect that she'll just end up being a transitional champion to Mercedes, but Willow's really good. She's really entertaining and good at the wrestling. I feel like I'll say that about so many of the people at this show. But I really like Willow's energy, and it would be nice if she could get a more extended run with the title, but they're also kind of building the potential turn with Chris Statlander, so I imagine that feud's probably coming as well. Got to see Mercedes. I had to double check because I wasn't sure, but Sasha Banks was at the Royal Rumble that I went to. I believe that was the night that she came in with like the Sailor Moon attire, which was really cool because, I make anime videos. I have a channel. I talk about anime all the time. So just little references like that are always neat. I'm not too big on her theme in AEW because it's definitely one of those themes that's, it's there for people to chant CEO. And I'm willing to be a hypocrite at the wrestling shows because I'm usually like on TV, like for example. I'm like, why does Chris Jericho always come out with Judas, even when he's a heel a couple years ago? But it's like, if Judas had played at the show, I would have chanted along. Like, I don't want to be a jaded fan and just like, you know, I want to enjoy myself. I want to like embrace the energy. And it's like, why would I not sing along with the song? So just little things like that, the Osprey chants in the theme. But with Mercedes, I kind of wish her theme had a little more to it aside from just the CEO chants, but really excited to see what she'll do in AEW. And yeah, hopefully, like, there's been, with her there, I feel like, you know, we're consistently getting, you know, a little more than just one women's match on a Dynamite or one segment. You know, between like the timeless Toni Storm character and Mercedes, and then the stuff with Willow and Julia, you know, I would like to keep consistently getting more than one women's segment on Dynamite. Because I feel like that was a running joke between me and my partner for a while. Anytime we'd watch Dynasty, it's like, okay, we're gonna time the women's match. How long is this match gonna go? Is it gonna go over 5 minutes? Because very often in the past, it would just be pretty quick, and it feels like it's a step or two behind, you know, where women's wrestling is at right now. Like WWE, you know, I tune into an episode of Monday Night Raw and I'm getting like 2, 3, maybe even 4 different women's segments. Like, you know, the angle that they're doing with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Obviously, there was like the stuff with, you know, Rhea would always have a spot on the card, or the Judgment Day, Becky Lynch. There's the women's tag titles. Like, there's just a lot more going on, and the talent is there. AEW has a lot of really good women on their roster, even counting Ring of Honor, like Athena. I don't really follow Ring of Honor, but I kind of wish I did, because Athena, I feel like, is my favorite of the people signed with AEW in terms of like the women's division. But, you know, still, like, you got Willow. Nyla Rose is a very, like, imposing heel. You've got, like, Hikaru Shida, Riho. And especially now that, like, the stuff going on with Stardom and there potentially being, like, more Joshi talent kind of getting back into the mix. Just put more women on your show, Tony Khan. They can do the good wrestling, and they deserve the opportunities. The next match on the card was the International Championship match between Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong. I had never gotten to see either of these two wrestle. They weren't at either of the two shows I had gone to. So it was really cool, not just because, like, they're both really hard-hitting, really, you know, talented, but Kyle O'Reilly is also one of my partner's favorite wrestlers. And, you know, Kyle was out for so long with, I think it was like, was it a neck injury? Like he was out for like 1.5 years or something like that. So it was like doubtful or uncertain if he like would end up coming back. But kind of the way that they were building him up, where he sort of like had to find that fire again. He wasn't sure if he still had it. And then obviously the whole stuff with the Undisputed Kingdom and the turn with Roderick Strong. You know, they're good friends. They've got history with Undisputed Era and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was just really, really good energy to it, really intense, personal. Another kind of a sleeper match almost, because like you just look at everything else on the card, and this definitely was one that could kind of slip in under the radar, but I would say it delivered on what it needed to. Also really cool to see Adam Cole up walking around. I don't know if that means he's medically cleared necessarily. I'm sure he still has a bit of rehab to do, but I don't know. We'll see. And before I move on from that match, one thing that I did not like, you know, on TV, people chop each other a lot, and it can sound pretty loud, but I don't think any part of me was prepared for just how thunderous some of these chops can sound in person. And like in AEW in particular, like a lot of them get thrown around to the point where people are like just battering each other, and chests are just like beet red. Sometimes they do so many that they turn like purple. And yeah, like the Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, just the strikes they threw. We had pretty good seats. We weren't definitely like on the floor or up in the like nosebleeds, but we were kind of in the middle in terms of like height. But it was still a really good view. I feel like I could see the wrestlers' faces very clearly. My partner had even said that like she could hear some of the impact for like the kicks and the strikes, the not chops that Kyle O'Reilly was throwing, and it's just like, damn, guys, calm down a little. No, but it was sick. Kyle O'Reilly still got it. Roderick Strong is going to keep having a banger run as the international champion. And yeah, like I'm curious what they'll do with, like, if Adam Cole's going to be in the picture in particular, especially just like him and Roderick, and if there's some sort of spin with Kyle O'Reilly, if there will be a little more to this angle. I'm not really sure, but I'm excited to see it regardless. Chris Jericho hook match was not good. I felt very validated. That's the word. Just the please retire chants towards Chris Jericho. It's like he's a legend of the business, and I respect that. Just, you know, he's over 50 at this point, I think. And just like, it felt like on a lot of the suplexes and stuff that Hook really had to kind of carry him to make the match work as well as it did. But I mean, obviously, like, Jericho gets a reaction out of the crowd, so that's not to discredit like his, just, you know, he has a history in the business, and I respect that. But at the same time, like, you gotta know when to hang it up. And I think Jericho, if he's not working like a tag match, I feel like an extended singles match like this one. Yeah, it was like I could feel the energy that had been, like, all the excitement and the adrenaline of the show, like, building up to that point, just really dipped in that match with Jericho. I kind of thought going in that he would win the FTW title because, I mean, it's Chris Jericho. He won the Ring of Honor title at one point. And even though the FTW is kind of just like a Taz legacy belt, anyone that's tied to like Hook or Brian Cage or Ricky Starks, you know, anyone who's like a Taz guy. But yeah, I mean, if this is going to be kind of Jericho, like, this could possibly be his last title victory. I don't know about this whole learning tree character. I hope he commits to being a heel, but like, I don't know. Jericho, I feel like, is the least interesting thing going on with AEW at this point. He was like a great signing for them in the beginning, and I imagine he did a lot to get the company off the ground and to maybe pull in some more casual like WWE fans. And like the factions he's had, he's maybe like elevated some guys, but I don't know. I feel like he just doesn't have it anymore, and that's like, it's okay to not have it anymore. Like, just, I don't know. They gave that match like 16 minutes and it was too long. It felt longer than the Ospreay Danielson match that was like twice the time. And then the match after that was Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. I really like what Tony's been doing character-wise lately with the Timeless Toni Storm character and the whole stuff with like the black and white vignettes. And I don't think the matches with this character, it might be that the gimmick, she kind of had to figure out how to work the character while also like having entertaining wrestling matches. And it kind of felt for a while like the character just didn't work in that way. But this match with Thunder Rosa was, I feel like it's the best match I've seen of this current run. I wasn't too big on the Deonna Purrazzo match from the previous, what was that, Revolution? Like, I know that Toni Storm is a great wrestler. I've seen her work in the Mae Young Classic and, you know, some of her AEW work prior to this point. And I know she was in Stardom and had kind of done some other stuff, NXT UK. But, like, yeah, you know, her and Thunder Rosa, they had a good match out there. And it kind of felt like just, you know, hopefully that means that, like, this Timeless Toni Storm character can still work in sort of a competitive, athletic, like, not that every match has to be fast-paced or anything, but it felt like they both really, you know, were doing their best for that match, and I feel like it came across well. Like, I wasn't particularly excited for that one, but they made it work. The last 3 matches on the card, I think also all could have been contenders for the main event of the show. But I do feel like having Ospreay Danielson like where it was and not in the main event, I think was a really good call. Mostly just like having Swerve win the title and end the show that way. It was just a really like a feel-good moment to send the show home on, or send the audience home on. Words can't do justice to the just energy in that arena and the pure excitement from everybody. Yeah, Ospreay Danielson. It was easily the greatest wrestling match I've seen in person. Quite possibly the greatest wrestling match I've seen. There's a lot of stiff competition for it, for sure, and I might be a little biased being there in the arena. I'd be really curious to see how the broadcast kind of captured a lot of these moments, and the Ospreay Danielson match in particular. I don't know how well like the loudness and the chanting of the crowd comes across on TV. Like I thought at All Out that the whole meat chants were like just some of the best energy I'd seen in a wrestling crowd. And I felt like, because then AEW went on to do like the Meat Madness match, which I think is going a little overboard with it. But it kind of felt like I was there for a historic moment in, just the timeline of wrestling, that like now people will just chant meat at AEW shows whenever 2 big guys are in the ring, just, a good hoss fight. But this match in particular, just so many chants before they could even like touch each other, just like the "this is awesome." Later in the match we got "we're not worthy." The crowd was hot. The crowd like knew that we were witnessing like history in the making, that this really was billed as like a dream match, and 2 people who really are the best in the world at what they do. And just like, God, the story they told, and just the back and forth, the physicality, the athleticism. Neither man really worked heel either. That was one thing I forgot to mention with the Okada match. The crowd really wanted to cheer Okada. They didn't want to boo Pac. I feel like they both had really good reactions from the crowd. But like Okada with like how he does his pose before the Rainmaker instead, like flipping off the camera. He did a really good job at getting the crowd to boo him, even when it's like the crowd didn't seem to want to. And I wasn't sure if somebody would kind of take on that role in the Ospreay Danielson match, but they didn't really need to. I mean, it was all just about them both being really good, beloved wrestlers. And there were just so many good little spots in there. Obviously, like the big ones are the Ospreay going for the Os Cutter and then getting hit with a Busaiko knee. It's been a couple days, so it's kind of hard to remember each individual spot, but it was all so good. The hidden blade to the outside off the apron was cool. And yeah, just the finish of it where they both kind of ran at each other. And then Ospreay kind of finishing it with they'd run at each other. Ospreay hit the hidden blade. Then it was like, I thought the finish was he hit the Storm Driver, and Danielson was like grabbing at his arm, and then he got him with another hidden blade. This kind of feels like this will be the moment that sort of leads to Don Callis family kind of turning on Ospreay. Because up to this point, they've kind of been in this weird situation where the Don Callis family are very clearly heels, but Ospreay is not. He is like a top babyface. And I think he's been doing really good in that role. His promos have been like, he is good at cutting promos. Even if it's like he kind of thinks them ahead before time, because I've definitely seen him like reading off a script in some of them, but like just like the things he comes up with and the way that he like, obviously the energy and the enthusiasm in the promos, and just like, he's really good at cutting promos, and really good in the ring too. He definitely is going to be a future AEW World Champion. I don't know how quickly that'll happen. Yeah, the fact that he hit the Storm Driver and potentially injured Bryan. Yeah, just like Don Callis really looking for that like killer instinct. I obviously didn't get to hear him on commentary, so I don't know what he said. There could have been seeds planted for a split there, But yeah, just like Ospreay retiring the move because, you know, oh, he hurt Bryan and it was a man he really respected. And it was kind of a down moment to end the match on because, the crowd had all that excitement and wanted to chant for Ospreay. It kind of ended on a more like somber moment of Ospreay just sort of like hesitant to celebrate because Bryan was hurt. And yeah, I feel like, the Don Callis family, they have that like that killer instinct where like they don't care about like if they hurt their opponent. But Will's a good guy, so he wants to respect and honor. And just curious where that'll go. Ospreay already has been killing it. The Takeshita match was insane. The one with Danielson was great, but he's having good TV matches too, even if it's sort of a bit more of a streamlined kind of style where he has like certain moments certain beats he wants to hit in the match. But like he's still Will Ospreay. I don't know. He feels very open with like the way he expresses himself, and he there was he's talked about being like autistic or on the spectrum, and like ADHD and like a combination of that, which I was diagnosed with ADHD a little later in life, and so I kind of knowing how that can it can be a struggle, but also it definitely if it leads him to like think differently, it's part of who he is, and just I like seeing that kind of like representation, I guess is a word for it. He just has like really good energy. He's like a generational talent, it feels like. Very excited to see like what else he does. Whatever he does at All In Wembley is he's got to have the main event, right? Is it him and Swerve for the title? Does Swerve lose it before then? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's going to be great. The Young Bucks and FTR had the unfortunate spot on the card of being immediately after Ospreay and Danielson, but I think that was a really good placement for things, honestly. The crowd was definitely a little burned out from the Ospreay Danielson. I mean, like, there were a solid, what felt like 5 to 10 minutes of just chant after chant after chant. The dueling yes and no chants, but also like yes and bruv, and just like we're not worthy. Just so many good moments in that match. For the latter match, it kind of felt like the crowd was there for some of the early high spots, but it definitely took a bit to kind of warm back up and kind of catch their breath, I guess. But like, I love these EVP characters that the Young Bucks are doing. Initially, I was like hesitant towards it because I'm like, oh, are they just playing like a Vince McMahon kind of character where it's like the evil micromanaging boss kind of thing? But they're very goofy about it and very like, I mean, the Elite has always been kind of meta with certain things that they incorporate into their wrestling or promos or characters or whatever, from like, having a 6-man tag or whatever where, they want to do the big spot where everyone gets in the ring and fights each other, but no, you have to make the tag. You're not the legal man. And then they like drag their partners over and make a tag, and then, fists go flying. And just, like with, them being the EVPs, and this, I guess, is like probably the best thing they could be doing after the whole stuff with Punk. I still haven't quite figured out how I feel about showing the Punk footage on TV, because I guess it's like, on the one hand, that's kind of a stigma that's been stuck with the company, and like they just need to move on from it. But like Punk talking about it, it's like I don't really know. I can see pros and cons to both. I just hope after this feud, like, we can just move on. 'Cause, I'm so tired of hearing CM Punk chants. I thought like when Punk came to AEW, we were finally free from the like, whenever the crowd's not clicking with something, oh, let's just chant CM Punk. And like WWE has definitely worked that out, where like now Drew just takes all of that heat, at least for the moment. But like in AEW, it's like anytime the Bucks are there, FTR, hopefully that's kind of something they can move on from. But the match itself was really good. The Young Bucks are good at the whole tag team thing. FTR, probably like two of the greatest tag teams of like their generation. And just like the chemistry that they have in the ring any of like the 4 times they've gone up against each other. And just like, you know, a lot of attention to detail. They, you know, callbacks with like Matt Jackson losing his shoe, which is how the Bucks had defeated FTR in the first matchup they had. Like the super kick where he was missing the shoe. You know, good number of high spots, like, you know, Nick Jackson 450 through the table. Glad nobody got hurt on like the Dax's like pile driver on the ladder. Yeah, it was just highly entertaining. They're all very good at the wrestling. You know, I've said a lot of that already. The Jack Perry run-in, I was kind of hoping it would happen. Like, I personally kind of want to see Jack Perry join the Elite, but maybe that's not what they'll do with him as this, like, scapegoat character. The just shit-eating grin he had on his face when they pulled off the hood and the Sting mask, it was so silly. 2 really good tag teams. You know, wrestling is an art form, and they went out there and they showcased their art. And it was getting to see a ladder match in person as well was really fun. Just getting to see certain things in person really gives like a new perspective on the TV product. Because like when I went to All Out, I also got to see, I didn't even know that like we had Collision tickets, so we kind of last minute had to throw together a plan to go see that. But like seeing what they do to like engage the crowd during commercial breaks and feeling the energy, it feels like no matter what, like even going to the 2022 Royal Rumble, which looking back might have been like one of, if not the worst Royal Rumbles in history. Just even then, like being in person, it was still the crowd energy added to it a lot. So then it's like, you know, when I'm really enjoying what the product is doing, then it's just like even better. And then finally, that brings to the Swerve and Samoa Joe match. The entrance for Swerve was great. At that point, it was pretty much like, oh, Swerve is winning this match, coming out in just like the Black Panther gear, and then Prince Nana coming out with like the jacket, which I heard was like an homage to, I think it was the first wrestler he managed, but I don't remember the name, but he has since passed away. Carrying on that legacy for Nana and like bestowing sort of that honor onto Swerve, like go out there and win this title, King. I would say that like in terms of wrestling quality, I would give match of the night to Ospreay and Danielson, but like I feel like this is the main event. All it really had to do was have Swerve win, because that's just the right call. I've like loved Swerve's run since this Hangman feud. That like whoever threw that together and, you know, really leaned into like it felt like it revived both of their careers. 'Cause Swerve, he was definitely doing a lot. Like he never really he was always doing something on the AEW shows. Like at Wembley, he was in like the coffin match with Sting and Darby, and Christian Cage. He had like the Swerve and Our Glory run, which was a team initially that was kind of like, you know, AEW has all these great tag teams. Why are you just kind of throwing 2 guys together? But like they really clicked, and it's kind of unfortunate that we haven't gotten a blow-off match with Keith and Swerve, but it is what it is. The match that they had with the Acclaimed, where the Acclaimed, well, both of them actually. The one where the Acclaimed didn't win the titles, and then what is it called? Their like TV show. I don't remember the name of the venue, but where they won it. Just they had very good chemistry. I remember that being like one of my favorite matches of that was what, 2022? But the Hangman Swerve feud was just incredible from the word go. Like that very first promo of Swerve basically just like dressing down Hangman, like, you know, you haven't been at the peak of your game, you know, you're kind of a shell of who you used to be. And then Swerve talking about like, if I had been given all these opportunities, you know, just that like he'd be world champion. And sure enough, like he had that feud with Hangman, they went to war. Like Swerve was a great heel, and I'm almost kind of like, on the one hand, I'm kind of like a little disappointed that we didn't get to see more of heel Swerve, because I feel like he had like like top of the company in terms of his heel work, but like even as a face, I like the way that it's kind of like with the stuff with Joe and Hangman, that he had to sort of overcome like that heel work and kind of overcome the demons of his past, because like he had done like breaking into Hangman's home and really like pushing Hangman to the point where it's like anytime I see Swerve, like they're going at it. Like Hangman would do anything to stop Swerve from winning the title. So it's kind of like a you reap what you sow sort of thing. But just like, yeah, Swerve hasn't really lost that aggression that he had. And I mean, Swerve, he's the total package. He's excellent in the ring. He's got the charisma. He's got the aura of like a top pro wrestling superstar. And like the feud with Joe, like Joe's title run, I've been really impressed because I would not have thought, like, when he beat MJF, it kind of felt like a surprise. Because, like, I mean, MJF dealing with a lot of nagging injuries, and the whole, like, better than you, Bebe angle kind of, like, it felt like it got a little derailed by the injuries to Adam Cole and then the stuff with MJF. So, like, Joe getting it made sense that he won the title at World's End, but, like, the matches he's been having and the promos as well, like Joe is a legend of the business as well. And like these segments of Swerve, like I really enjoyed the kind of triple threat build where it was mostly like, could Swerve get past Hangman to even get to Joe? But once it was just Swerve and Joe on their own going at it, the promos were fire. Just the like bitterness between the two of them, and it felt very personal, and like they both have great mic work. There definitely was the concern with Swerve that like, when he didn't win the triple threat with Hangman, I was worried like, oh, are they gonna miss the moment with him? Because like if he was gonna win the title, he had to win it at Dynasty. I feel like the window of opportunity there would have closed because you have a lot of other big names on that roster, like bringing in Okada and Ospreay. Like, Ospreay's going to be coming for the world title at some point, no matter what. But, like, Swerve deserved it. Swerve, and I have really enjoyed hearing him both, like, in, like, outside the ring and media scrums and whatnot, but also, like, the character himself in the ring, and like the promos and stuff. Like he's talked a lot about kind of how, growing up as a black man in America and just his general lifestyle of really like jumping at every opportunity he could, and really like putting in the work to get where he is now, because like kind of working at a disadvantage because like, the systems we have in place, if you're not white, the opportunities aren't always there. So, like, Swerve getting that moment and talking about, like, how important it was for, like, again, like, a representation thing. And kind of with Swerve, too, it was, like, if he was going to win the title, it had to be now. And because I'd be worried he'd get passed over. But it all felt right. He talked about in the media scrum how, like, St. Louis was a city that had personal importance to him. So, like, it happening there, and I got to be there to see it. And that was, all show I'm just like, go Swerve, I hope he got that moment. And yeah, just the emotion in the finish of the match where like he took Joe off the top and then sized him up for like the Swerve stomp, and you could just really see it, like even from up in the stands, like just the Swerve really taking in the moment and how much that meant to him, and also just like how much him being in that spot and getting that moment is gonna mean for a lot of people. If you're the best wrestler, you should be getting the like top level opportunities. It shouldn't matter really like who you are or your background or ethnicity or gender, whatever, sexuality. Like if you're good, you should get the opportunities of a good wrestler, and Swerve made it happen. And very excited to see what he does as champion. And yeah, just like if that moment and Swerve winning the title inspires a generation of young kids to pursue their dreams and like regardless of the adversity they have to face. It doesn't even have to be about race, but obviously it's very significant in this case too, because if the match was great, and it's all the better if, for what that'll probably mean to people. I say in the whitest voice imaginable. But yeah, I don't know if there's really much more to say. I know I've already talked for a while. I do tend to ramble. But yeah, I wanted to have a little something to just capture these feelings and the just excitement. And it was a great weekend. It was a great night of wrestling. And I will be very... I'm excited, and I will definitely jump at the opportunity if I can see AEW again in person in the future. Competition is great. AEW, not a perfect company, but having that alternative, having that variety is really important, and I hope that they continue to succeed and grow a bigger audience and just keep putting on banger wrestling matches. Would you be interested in more videos kind of like this, like talking about wrestling? Obviously this one was a little more personal because, I got to go to the show in person, but just more kind of atypical videos to what I usually do. It doesn't always have to be about the games, I guess. Anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it for this video before I drag it out any further. Thank you all for watching. And I'll see you next time, whenever that may be, for the next video. Hope you have a good week. Hope you watch some great wrestling, because wrestling is really cool, and, we're all fans, and wrestling is in a very, very good place right now. So just, have a fun time.